Ever look at all those scores in your gradebook and wish you could see a picture of each student's learning progress? Ramp provides that. The scores from activities on student tablets are loaded into the system in real time. A multivariate statistical analysis takes place behind the scenes, and the system produces a simple graph and other important information about each student's progress. Let's look at how it works. I'm going to click on Carlos here and his green score of 48. A graph appears with a short summary of information at the top and a bar graph on the bottom. There's 6 types of information at the top. The first one is the learning target Carlos is working on. He's working on his multiply ones in multiplication facts. Next, we see that his learning progress is moderate, which is acceptable. Progress options include sprint, fast, moderate, slow, and none. His learning picture is improving. The options for learning picture include improving, maintaining, or worsening. Learning channels indicates that for this learning target, a student is seeing a problem on the screen and tapping a correct answer. There are 3 stages of learning: acquisition, fluency building, and proficiency. Each stage requires the teacher to use a different type of teaching strategy. Carlos is in the fluency stage, so practice, encouragement, and positive reinforcement are the strategies most likely to help Carlos reach his goal. Notice the line above the bar graph. This is referred to as an aim line, or the target that the student's trying to achieve for this learning target. The 50 informs us that the goal is 50 correct responses per minute. In the upper left-hand corner of the graph, you can see that there's a black box with the word interventions in it. If we click on this, we see optional teaching strategies. These strategies have been derived from hundreds of research studies, been shown to be effective, efficient methods for improving fluency-based mastery learning. And there's a note to the teacher in the center of the box that reads, interventions are recommended in order of priority based solely on data analysis. Teacher knowledge of a student should always take priority when selecting an intervention or a combination of interventions. Observe a student, look at the data, and ask yourself questions and then decide. This note encourages teachers to not only use the ramp suggestions, but to always make their own decisions. Since Carlos is within a couple of digits of reaching his goal, a good decision would be to just give encouragement and reinforcement, or another option might be to move him on without mastery. Next, let's talk about a student with a maintaining picture. I'm going to click on John's 44 here. And as you can see from the bar graph, John's taken 15 timed assessments in the last 4 days, but he hasn't made any progress. The 14 scores are bouncing around between 43 and 44 correct responses with very few errors. If we click on the interventions box, the primary intervention recommended is to work on tool skills. But what does that mean? A tool skill is a physical or motor behavior required to respond to the question. For example, in math, it might be tapping the correct number. In reading, it might be saying the correct word. There are several ways to improve the speed of a tool skill that is too slow. Mostly it's to use the tool skill practice assessments and to increase the number of assessments the student is taking per day, to give them practice so that they can perform the motor skill more quickly. Since John is making very few errors but not increasing in his fluency, he probably needs more in practice to increase his speed, and an increase in motivation might also help. Or his teacher might have other ideas about how to improve his fluency. Let's click on another student who's struggling. I'm going to click on Hector here. His red box indicates that he's struggling. Hector's working on multiply 1, and he's an interesting case because he's not making a lot of errors, but his fluency is slowing down and even decreasing. So looking for ideas of how we might intervene, we can click on interventions again. And of the interventions listed here, motivation is one that would stand out. Maybe he's bored or he's not interested. It's gotten too hard for him, and so there's seven different things under motivation listed here that might be helpful to help him move on and progress a little bit better.